Thank you for meeting with me today. The first question I'd like to ask, just right off the bat, is what does your business do?
It's a charity. It's the D Foundation was set up 20 years ago. I'd worked all my life in media and fashion. I didn't want to. My first love is zoology, um, and that was the area I was going to go. But that's another story, and probably a bit saucy. And over a glass of wine is probably best for that one. But basically, I worked for Westwood. I got into working with Vivienne Westwood, worked with several major uh, magazines, other designers, and then left the creative industries to help look after my ex-partner's parents. And I had a normal 9 to 5 job at the hospital, which I hated, but I got paid at the end of the month and I could clock off at 5 o'clock and forget it. Then I was asked, out of the blue, I was asked to go and give a talk at the mayor's office. This was just over 11 years ago, on how young people found it difficult to get into the creative industries. And I said, basically, a degree within the creative industries, there's no point. You're getting these kids, selling these kids a dream. You're offering them a dream that doesn't exist, and they're leaving up to their eyes in debt, a degree that's not worth the paper it's printed on. They end up signing on where the job centre then has quotas to reach. So they're then pushed to work in ASDA or Tesco's, and their mental health goes down. But not just that, it's not a sustainable business if you're pushing these kids to do degrees to get into debt. They're coming out and not earning enough money to pay it back. So we're missing out on all this talent, but you're also missing out on payments for a loan that is just always going to be there. And so a lady called Rebecca Palmer approached me after, and she said, "I really love your down-to-earth attitude. I apologize if I swear as well, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you can." And she goes, "I really love the quote that you said, you wasn't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, more with a shovel up your ass." She goes, "I thought that was so, so good." And so she goes, "I'd like to work with you." And I really had no intention of going back into media. I had no intention of going down that route. I'd done my bit and thought that was enough. I'll carry on at the hospital, be it boring, but it was good money, and etc. etc. So she kept pestering and pestering. In the end, I give in. Went in and give them a pitch. Come up with a name that I thought they'd hate. Come up with a project that I thought they'd hate. So I'd get turned down, and they absolutely loved it. So ASBO is the product of the D Foundation, which is the charity that works with young people that wish to go into the creative industries. We cut that velvet rope. Not everyone can do 6 or 7 months free internships. So we say, if you work at Tesco's, you can give us as much time as you want, just to help you build up your portfolio, help to build up your contacts. So those that work for the project actually go out to represent the project. Everybody gets an ASBO email, so it's easier to go from one job to another.
I really love that. I mean, I've definitely been the receiving end of ASBO's generosity. I've got an ASBO email as well, and it's definitely useful as well because I'm navigating creative fields. But no, I really love that. And that's such an interesting shift to have gone from of having that like 9 to 5, thinking you never go back to the creative fields, and then all of a sudden, sort of by chance, almost finding yourself back in that.
The industry's changed a hell of a lot since I first went in there. The only reason, to be blunt, the only reason I got into the creative sector is because every Friday, me and my friend would bunk off school. He would go down to the newly opened Vivienne Westwood shop where he was seeing his assistant, an assistant from the shop. They would go upstairs for a coffee, and I was in charge of the shop. So I'd wear all this Westwood and I'd swan around thinking I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And one day this woman walked in. I had no idea who she is. Had no idea. I wasn't really interested in fashion. Wasn't really interested. I liked my music. I liked going out dancing, but that was it. You know, being gay in the 70s, you couldn't help but be a disco bunny. So I loved my disco. And this woman walked in and she turned around and she goes, "You look really, really good. Would you like a job?" I was like, "Where?" And she was like, "In my shop." And it was Vivian Westwood. So that's how my career started. And I didn't really look back. I worked with her. I worked on the first shows, helped with Bow Wow Wow, and just moved on from there. And then decided that probably in 1985, everybody was saying, "Oh, you need a degree to do this, you need a degree to do that." I actually went to 4 universities and got kicked out of each one because I was too mouthy and I was being taught by people that had never worked in the industry. And I knew more than them. And it was like, why am I wasting my time here? So I promptly got asked to leave 4 universities and just went off and did my own thing.
That's amazing. Yeah, you've got such like a fascinating like history to all of your like work that you've done and everything. You're very humble about it as well. It's really interesting just hearing you talk about it.
It's just life, you know. Everybody, there's been some. I've had some amazing times, and I've met some amazing people, and I've I sort of done everything in reverse. I, you know, met my partner when we were 15. We both played rugby. I had you know, I got once again, I got called into the headmaster's office. We and I knew it was bad because my grandparents were there. My grandparents pulled me up and they were like um, old traditionalists, which is probably why I have very traditional morals. And I'm probably the worst gay in the village, probably really, really the worst. And I'd gone into my this meeting. I was always in the headmaster's office anyway. You know, I was either for fighting, so I'd either get the cane, put on report, or sent home, if not all three. So I was called into the headmaster's office, and my grandparents are sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, what have I done that's so bad that my grandparents are here? And it's so different from how it is these days. So I've gone in, and the act of the act of rebellion, or the act that nobody could deal with, is I actually went to with my then partner. We went to the school disto together and walked in hand in hand. And so obviously I got called to the headmaster's office, and my grandfather turned around to me and said, "David, Mr. Such and Such would like you to answer a question. We know the answer. So you've been brought up to tell the truth. So tell him the truth." So I was like, okay. And I was thinking, what the heck have I done? What does he want to know? And he just turned around and said, "Are you a homosexual?" I went scarlet. My grandmother and my grandfather just looked at me. My grandfather just turned around and said, "You've been told to tell the truth, so we assume you're going to tell us." He goes, "We already know, but just be truthful." So I just looked at my grandfather and I said, "Yes, I am." And my grandfather then looked at the head teacher, the headmaster, and said, "Can we go now? He's told you, can we go?" And the headmaster turned around and said, "No, we have to call the police. We have to call social services. We need to get the authorities involved." And my grandfather said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, he's just admitted that he's a homosexual." And my grandfather then said, "I'm going to put this into perspective now. I fought in the Second World War. I was an RAF pilot in the Second World War. And I met my wife, who was also in the forces. We fought so that this country, my grandchildren, my children, could have the life that they've chosen and to be free. If this is his life, you or no one else is going to go put any pressure on him. I know he can look after himself because we're always being telephoned to say, oh, he's been in a fight, he's done this, he's done that. So I have no problem, but this is where I step in, is that you're not going to get anyone else involved. This is his life. This is his choice. That's that's, you or no one else is going to change that. And he then turned around to my nan and said, do you have any problem with do you have anything to say on this, mother? And she just turned around, looked at me, and she said, the same rule applies to you as it does your sister. No boys in your bedroom after 5 o'clock. And the headmaster was absolutely stunned. And they just, because my grandfather was like, really, in the 70s, they were in the 60s. So they had very, very old fashioned values. And you would have thought that they would have had this racist, homophobic slant about them. But it was just totally the opposite. And he just turned and said, we're going now because we've got other things to do, rather than discuss what you think of David. Or the only person that ever called me Davide was my grandparents. And my nan got up and she said, we're going home. And she just turned around and she goes, Davide, I'm making your favorite tonight, lasagna. Make sure you come home. And she just turned around to the headmaster and went, this was a total waste of time, wasn't it? And so I've never had a problem with hiding my sexuality, because I had that great support.
Yeah. I gotta say, I love your grandparents.
My grandmother was both my grandparents were absolutely, I still miss them to this day. I lost them when I was quite young, but they were the backbone and my rock of life. But to this day, I cannot eat mustard because every time I swore, my grandmother would put mustard on my tongue. And it didn't occur to me to wipe it off. So I'm like 17 years old, walking around the house with my tongue hanging out with all this mustard on. And I could have just gone to the bathroom and wiped it off. And it never occurred to me. And it's not until my grandmother turned around to me and said, are you simple? And I was like, why? And she said, well, you could have just wiped it off and nobody would have known. And I was like, I've had this on my tongue for an hour. And so they were absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved my grandparents. And when the other time I think I was really, really angry with my nan was when I thought I'd gone bald because I dyed my hair this big blonde mohawk, and I knew if I went home with this haircut, she would go nuts. So I used to have a balaclava on and just wear it around the house. And obviously she got suspicious because it was summer and I had this hat on that I wouldn't take off. So when I'd gone to bed, she sneaked into my bedroom and saw this great big cockatoo mohawk and cut it off. And I woke up in the morning screaming, thinking that my hair had fallen out.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I remember I had the same situation with I had a blonde mohawk as well at one point. And mine went the other way around where I nearly made myself bald through all the bleach. I mean, I was just destroying that hair.
Oh God, I used to sleep in my bleach. I used to put the bleach on, put the tinfoil on my head, and then put a towel around my head. No wonder I'm bald now.
It's just, I can't even imagine the amount of heat that was going on beneath all that.
It was, but you do that. Youth is there to have a laugh and to be explored. And that's, I truly believe that you get all this out in your youth and then it steadies you for later in life.
I agree. I absolutely agree. The more that I've talked to you, gotten to understand your personality and your upbringing and everything like this, it all sort of makes so much sense when I think about you and I think about ASBO and the kind of image that works together there. And one question that I was just want to ask you was what it's like working in the magazine business, working in print right now.
There's been a massive resurgence. Like the generation that is coming up have discovered everything that we took for granted. be it vinyl, magazines. So they're rediscovering the youth, my youth. And it was, at first it was, everybody said, oh no, magazines are dead, nobody buys magazines anymore. And I was like, there's always going to be a kudos of being in a magazine. um Anyone can, everyone that can set up a website and run their own magazine, and they're to a penny now. It's it's the same with social media. um and you get bored with it. So there's something tangible, and I hate social media. I hate anything. I would not say I'm phobic about the digital side, but I just find it really mind numbing. And I think there's something much more exciting about turning a page and having something in your hand. And luckily, the youth have described has done. I never thought I would run a magazine. I'm dyslexic. Um, I'm really mouthy, but I have a good eye, and that's what I probably bring to the magazine, is that anyone. I don't get involved so much in the content, because that's what the young people do. Their finger is on the pulse. I've had my day. I've been out clubbing. I've slept in cardboard boxes because I couldn't be bothered to go home. I've done all that, and it's anyone I would want on the cover is long dead. So that's why the magazine and everything is very youth driven. And I really believe that the magazine will evolve. I don't want to be like other publications where you grow old with your clientele or your readership. The magazine is a turnover of staff, which is what we do. So it keeps it fresh and it keeps its finger on the pulse. I find I never thought that I would I had this vision that I would be like Doris Day and open an animal sanctuary and just float around and rescue all these pigeons. I have a thing for pigeons. And it just didn't turn out like that. So it's gone nuts on the magazine side. It's absolutely gone nuts. And the ethos of, everybody looks at the publication and thinks that we're this big publishing house. Like the new issue has just exploded. I'll send me your address and I'll get some copies over to you both. Everybody thinks we're this great big publishing house instead of like Free Herbert's in a church hall that has this like massive reach of all these young people that are helping put the magazine together. It's challenging at times. The biggest challenge I have is the industry all wants to be in it. You've got we get inundated with PRs, but none of them want to support it. So it's like, we'd love the front cover, but would you give a donation to the charity to help with the printing? Oh no, we can't do that. But then on the flip side, because it's such a small industry, you hear that same company has given another publication £10,000 for their front cover, yet are desperate to be on our front cover because it's so much cooler. And that's my biggest problem, is that we get no support from the industry or the universities. We've tried again and again and again to get involved with the universities to say, look, you're pushing out all these kids. They have no idea how the industry's run. They've got no idea of meeting deadlines, because you are a business. You can't tell them no, because if you do, they leave and you lose the money. So you need to add something to your course to help them get more job ready. So we've tried with several universities to become part of the degree, that the students would work on the magazine throughout their course, that they leave with a degree, but also a commercial portfolio and a little black book of contacts. So that's the biggest obstacle that we have now, is we've created the brand. We've created this great publication, but it's going to be all the offshots of the publication that probably will generate more money. But that's the biggest problem we have, is that everybody wants to work with us, but nobody wants to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember um, back when I was studying history, and I was really lucky, I think, because one of my modules that I could choose to do was about doing an internship at a museum or something like this. And so I could get that experience while still being a student and
Yeah,
not have to do that weird thing where, yeah, you have your degree and then you find out all of this is unpaid, all of
yeah,
this is just passion projects, but I haven't got the money for that.
yeah,
So, it's a shame that actually these universities aren't more readily working with you because I think that's a brilliant idea, like people get experience right out the gate, especially in such a, the creative field's so saturated. Everyone's like fighting for
yeah.
that one spot, It would just be brilliant to have that really happen. So I hope that that does, somewhere along the pipeline that happens.
It's got to the stage where I just can't be bothered anymore. We've just knocked on so many doors. But saying that, the UK is very incestuous and it's very closeted. It's outside of London that we're finding, or outside of the UK, that we're finding universities really want to work with us. So we're just in the process of putting together our International Graduate Fashion Week issue, which is the hardback copy, and it's a roundup of all the best graduate collections. We've been approached by students from Romania. We've been approached by students from New York, LA, China. So as a brand, it's expanding internationally, and I think that's where we're going to be taken more seriously.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea because that kind of blends together your ethos of like working with the more underground scene,
Yeah,
but bringing that onto this international level and also, taking these amazing talents that might not be discovered and sort of introducing them into this part of the world as well to, some of your readership here. Although, of course, your
yeah,
readership is also international as well. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling
yeah.
cycle. Yeah.
It's really exciting, and that's what keeps you going. Is it's like you get that carrot dangled in front of you, and every so often you get a bite, and that's what keeps you going until the next bite. But yeah, that's my big bugbear, is that running the magazine, I could probably do it with my eyes closed now. It's just trying to get the industry to take us more seriously. It's like, you want to be in it, but you don't want to, you're not prepared to offer us anything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all just so focused on staying with the status quo.
Yeah,
So then, but in doing that, just totally loses anything interesting. I mean, like you said, you might not have the industry support necessarily backing you, but you've got the readership, you've
yeah,
got the people interested. It's that dissonance between it. Yeah, it's really interesting. One thing I was kind of thinking about was ASBO TV because we've talked about
yeah,
that a bit before as well. Um, it's kind of interesting thinking about obviously you kind of mentioned your dislike of social media. While simultaneously, of course, ASBO has to be on social
yeah,
media. You guys have a really good Instagram page, and with some video content on there, some photo content on there, and obviously over the last few years, there's been like such a strong shift towards video content on
yeah,
social media. Seeing the rise of TikTok and then everything else copying it as well. Um, I was just wondering, kind of, we've talked a bit about this, but I'd love to, bring it into this chat as well. How you see ASBO TV developing, kind of in light of the popularity of video content nowadays.
I think that um, it's very, video content on TikTok is very, very wishy-washy. And I think that what I bring to this, or what I bring to the project, is at the back of my mind, I'm still this disco dancing punk rocker with this massive two fingers up to the industry, but also realizing that we need the industry as much as they need us. So how, you look at, there's very, very few, how can I put this? 10-minute, there's very few 10-minute or 15-minute episodes of content. It's very wishy-washy, and it's like, oh, look at me, I'm dancing. Oh, look at me and my mum, we're dancing. Um, or, what I've seen of TikTok, it's either people predicting your boyfriend's coming back, dancing, or just violence. And I think that how I see ASBO TV, I see it very much as an internet as well, but I also want to go on terrestrial, um, because once again, TikTok, Instagram is flooded. If you have, take what we do on ASBO TV, what we're currently doing, and then move it onto Channel 4 for, say, a 10-minute hijack, it's going to have much more kudos. And people are going to, especially young people, will then go back to looking at, because there's more kudos on being on TV than there is on Instagram. And I'm very much about joining the two forces together. Where at the moment it's people have tried in the past, but it's very difficult to come up with that concept of where it's the project will work on both. And how I think about it, if I'm not giving too much of my way, is that ASBO TV, as with ASBO, is put together by youth. So everybody wants to be a celebrity, everybody wants to. So every episode, we'd say go to Leeds. We'd film in a local gig venue with local bands. We'll get two local wannabes to present ASBO TV. And then it would be cut in with sections from probably more high profile bands, fashion, etc., etc. So it'd be cut in, it'd be 10 minutes, instant, but it's also obtainable, if that makes sense. It's not set up in some big studio. It's not set up in with all these so-called celebrities. The people that read ASBO, the people that participate in ASBO are the celebrities. And it's giving them that platform.
Yeah, I love that. I really love the whole the message of just like ASBO is so real, you know, like you
Yeah.
guys say, I'm gonna give you guys a platform, I'm gonna help, you know, get your ideas across, make everything tangible, and you do. You know, I feel like so many other things where you look at these like creative opportunities, it's sort of, you know, it's not people getting their vision across
Yeah.
and it's not making something so tangible and real. I think it's brilliant.
One of the I think the biggest shock that somebody had when they come to work with us, they'd actually gone to work on another publication, and they'd wanted to be a stylist, and they'd gone to this other publication. For the first 3 weeks, they just made tea and did general errands for the fashion team. Then they were put in the cupboard to sort out the fashion cupboard, and that was their internship. So she applied to us, she come on board to us, and we looked through her portfolio, and she was really shocked that she was actually going to style a front cover and that she was going to do a fashion shoot. And it's like, I can make, if I drank tea, I could make my own tea. I'd offer to make you a copy. But, you want to be a stylist, not somebody that works in a canteen making tea. So let's build up your portfolio. And I think that's what we have over other publications.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been really exciting working with you guys because, you know, I like agree with everything you're doing so much. It's really like fun to kind of help you guys do that, you know, through Suzaku. And actually on that, I was just wanting to ask how you think Suzaku has helped you.
Um, I'm gonna waffle now if I haven't already waffled, so forgive me. And I'm gonna swear. So I will swear and then I'll pause so you can cut that out. It's been brilliant. I'm not, when it comes to web, I can just about send an email. That's about the limit of my thing. You have opened the world. I've spent the last 2 weeks uploading to the new site, and you've introduced me to Canva, which the graphic designer will hate you forever for, because I can now design the magazine and go back to him and say, this is what I want, do it. where before I had to work with them. So the new website is just how I always imagined it. And I will always be in your debt for that. Um, it's taken, where before I was very dismissive, maybe because of my age, I don't know, but I was very dismissive of the website. It was very bland. It was boring. It was like, and now it's got that ASBO vibe, and I absolutely love it. I love the fact that all the articles can be laid out in a set format, and that you can manipulate the pictures on Canva so that they're all one size, because that was my biggest bugbear, is that I'd upload pictures and they'd all be different sizes all over the place, and it used to infuriate me. But now I will always be in your debt. I absolutely love the new way. I can't wait for it to launch. We've got the shop, it's just everything that I imagined but didn't think we'd be able to achieve. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And I mean, that's like great to hear. I mean, Amra is just an absolute whiz at making websites. It's crazy what he can do. But it's also been really great working with you guys as clients because you're so like aware of what your image is, what you want it to be like. But you guys are so like headstrong. It's just brilliant. And it's
And
really exciting to work with you.
because the magazine is very visual, I wanted the website to be like that as well. So that, now, as I said, I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning uploading stuff to the new website. And because and I'm such a perfectionist, that's why it's taken me so long. So we've got, you know, 10 years of the class of videos and all these images. And I'm now going through them all, absolutely loving it. And just laying it all out how it should be and how I love it. And I look at it and I think, oh my God, this is so good. I don't care if no one ever sees it, but to me, it's it ticks that perfection box in my head. So the website I just absolutely love, and I never thought I'd get passionate about something like that. Because I just always found them really, really boring. But I look at it now and it's ASBO brand. You've helped create something that's taken something that was ugh, and you've made it wow.
Yeah.
The front page, just everything, just I absolutely love it.
Thank you. That's really great to hear. Yeah, it's been really fun just seeing like things progress with you guys, and I'm really excited to work more with you as well. Like, as more things come up that you want done and everything, that's something I'm always going to be excited to work with you guys.
You also understand the brand now. So where we've had lots of problems in the past is that I say to people, this is what I want, this is how I expect it to be, this is what my vision is, let's do it. Then they then come back with something totally different, which is why, we've got this young graphic designer. And when I first met him, I was very, very dubious about meeting him. And this is coming from, so, how can I put this? Because he was from Egypt, I didn't think he would understand the brand. Um, he was 22 years old. He had come over here um, to escape prosecution for his sexuality. Over here, he felt very isolated. So we was introduced to him, and he come on board to do the graphic design. And at first, and this is my own fault, and I put my hands up to say that I was so wrong. Um, and so I said to him, here's some images, go off and do what you think ASBO should be. And the that blew me out the water. I absolutely love him to this day. He got a really good job on the back of us, but turned around to me and said, I really want to carry on working with you. I absolutely love you. You introduced me to fish and chips. And he's absolutely brilliant. And because of him, the magazine has now gone to a different level. And it was my own preconception, if that's the right word, of looking at someone and thinking, because lots of people, when we've worked, particularly when we've worked with Japanese students, they come back with something that's very fanzine, and that's something I didn't want for ASBO. And with the graphic designer, I just assumed, which was really wrong of me, that this is what he was going to do. And as I said, he come back, blew my socks off, and I just went, yeah, you're the creative director now. I will never argue with again. And he will come to me. It's very rare that I will let go of something until I trust someone. So I very rarely do I get involved with the graphics of the magazine because I trust him so much. He then, very occasionally, we have to change something because English is his second language, so he misses something. Or I will say to him, this image is probably stronger. Look at that image. But 99.9% of the time now, he will just come back to me and I just said, yes, this is brilliant. And that's I put my hands up to say that I was totally wrong about him. And I absolutely love him. And he's always so happy, which annoys me even more because he's just so happy. And it's just not normal for somebody to be happy 22 hours of the day. And if there's a problem, it's like, no problem, I'll change it. And it's like, no, argue with me.
I love that. Yeah, usually you expect a bit more more ego or something in this sort of field. I think that's normal, if anything.
He's one of the best, or if not the best, graphic designer I've ever worked with in all my years. And believe me, we've worked with some weirdos that have been graphic designers. And that's another story off camera for that one.
Yeah, no, he is amazing. I mean, I remember when I first opened up the magazine and I was genuinely stunned because it was just like, oh my gosh. I'd seen some of your images and stuff, a lot of your covers.
Yeah.
So I already got the vibe and I kind of knew, oh, this is going to be good, but it was just blown away. It was amazing. So
I will send you the new issue. It looks amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Thanks. And actually, kind of off the back of that, we've talked about this a bit naturally through what we've already covered, but just in case there's anything else that you want to bring up or talk more about, what do you see for the future of ASBO?
My vision is to grow it. What started off as just as a London thing, we're now working with instead of having separate organizations that everybody comes together to help push this young talent and promote it to another level. But I don't think that will happen because there's too many people out there that see just the money, which is probably one of the reasons I'm not rich, is that other organizations will get money from the job centers or they'll get government money for funding to help people into the creatives or to get people into employment because it's an output for them. But they see, like universities, they see these people just as a commodity and a number as for funding. And we've had funding in the past, and you're supposed to give these people 2 weeks of your time and then just, basically get rid of them. And I refuse to do that. So I want to, some people need longer than 2 weeks. They need to, we've got somebody that deals with mental health and well-being. So maybe for the first couple of days they're with them and it's helped building them back up and believing in them again. And that takes longer than 2 weeks. And with the creative industries, you don't have a CV, your work is your CV. So a lot of these organizations, well, we're going to sit down and we're going to write a CV today. Oh, I've got a degree. What do I need to learn how to write a CV for? So one of my objectives is to grow it, but to give people the pace of growing themselves. And that's the most important thing. We're now reaching a global audience. We're getting people from all over the world want to be part of ASBO now. And I love to see ASBO Italia, ASBO USA, so that each country has got their magazines or their brand, but they're all working together, cross-pollinating, sharing the content, but also sharing the talent. And obviously, I want to do an event called London Rocks, which is I'm basically sticking two fingers up at London Fashion Week, which in my opinion is dead. You know that there's a problem with London Fashion Week when the people that go to the shows dress up weirdly, get more exposure than the actual designers. So I want, and nobody comes to London Fashion Week really anymore. It's just influencers. There's no international, very rare, very few international press. And what we've turned our back on is our youth, because they're the ones that change the world. You can't think of the 60s, the 70s, 80s, or 90s without music and fashion going together. And it's come from our youth culture, which then explodes and sets the world alight. And that's why you've got all these foreign students coming to our universities, because they want to buy into that British cool. So I want to do something called London Rocks, which has 6 up and coming young designers, and they walk down the catwalk to an up and coming band, an up and coming DJ. So it's an explosion of young talent. And then we can take that to Paris. So Paris rocks, because we get, as I said, what we're doing in the UK is also happening all over the world. But my eventual goal is to get what time I've got left, because I'm an old man now, is I'd still like my animal sanctuary.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see that for you. You said you like pigeons a lot.
Yeah.
That's sick. I love that.
And I'd like enough money just to have as much plastic surgery as possible, and then just keep changing.
Yeah, totally. Just like model yourself after whoever you feel like.
Get an arm put on my head because I was bored on a Friday, and then by next week it's gone somewhere else. So I'll probably, but realistically, I'm probably going to end up in a mental institution if I tell people that.
Yeah, gosh.
That man's a bit weird. He's had a hand transplanted on his head.
Oh gosh, no, that's amazing though. I love the whole idea of London Rocks, like every single component being underground and new and just people ready to be discovered. I think that's amazing. Bringing that across, in every level. That's a great idea. I just have one last question, actually, which is for our viewers watching. Where can they buy the magazine?
The magazine's free. It's a free publication, and it's available in a lot of universities stock it when they're on term. Otherwise, it's in independent record shops. We are in Rough Trade. We're not in Rough Trade East because we got banned. You'll probably cut all that bit out, but
I want to keep as much as I can.
That's why I didn't use names.
Yeah, exactly. Anonymity, it's all fine.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
She knows who she is, and I'm after her. Don't you worry. Revenge is the best dish, the best served cold.
This video is going to be used as evidence.
Oh God, it sounds like I'm back on Crime Watch.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been like absolutely brilliant. I always love talking to you.
You know where I am if you need anything, my darling. Once again, thank everyone that took part in helping us build this new website. I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. I've loved this. I hope you have a nice day as well.
Thanks a lot. I'll speak to you soon.